Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Okay, have you ever honestly wondered why a select group of people just keep getting wealthier? Meanwhile, millions of others are out there working 12, maybe 14 hours a day, battling terrible traffic, dealing with demanding bosses, and still their bank accounts are pretty much running on empty by the end of the month. I mean, do the wealthy have some sort of superpower? Well, today we're decoding the absolute secret of how the wealthy continuously build wealth. We're going to break down the exact step-by-step systems they use to generate money, literally while they sleep.
So let's just dive right into this. To make sense of this massive topic, we've organized these concepts into a sort of wealth pyramid. First, we'll look at the real secret of wealth, then financial and physical assets. Next up, business and intellectual power, followed by modern and passive assets, and finally, we'll wrap up with the ultimate mindset shift. All right, section 1, the real secret of wealth. Before we even look at specific assets, let's try a little thought experiment together. Imagine if, tonight, all the wealth from every billionaire in the world was confiscated and redistributed totally equally among every single person on Earth, right? At first glance, poverty would seem completely cared. But history and human behavior tell us something fascinating and honestly kind of predictable. Within just a few years, the exact same people would become rich all over again, and the vast majority would just return to financial struggle. Why is that? Because money itself is not true wealth. Money is actually just a result. The true wealth, that lies in the systems, the actual assets that generate that money in the first place. And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference in where people end up. The poor and middle class, they focus almost entirely on earning money through their own hard labor. But the wealthy, on the other hand, focus on building assets that do the work for them. That single shift in focus is exactly what completely alters a person's financial destiny. Okay, moving on to section 2, pillar 1, financial and physical assets. We're going to look at the traditional heavy hitters first. This pillar includes cash reserves, real estate, bonds, the stock market, index funds, and commodities like gold. Basically, the classic, time-tested tools for preserving and actually growing your capital. Now, our very first asset is cash. And I know most people think money just sitting in a bank is dead weight, just losing its purchasing power to inflation. But wealthy investors, they actually hold massive cash reserves. Did you know Warren Buffett's company routinely sits on over $150 billion in cash? And that's because of his famous principle: be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. When markets crash by 40%, the average person just sees devastation. But the person with a cash reserve, they see the opportunity of a lifetime to buy incredible companies at a massive discount. So cash isn't just a safety net, it's literally a weapon used to seize opportunities. Moving from cash over to real estate, well, there's a massive misconception here. Most people buy a house to live in and think, great, I've acquired an asset. But to the wealthy, a home you live in is honestly just a convenience. A truly wealthy mindset focuses on buying something like a commercial shop or a property specifically to rent it out. That rented shop is a true real estate asset. It provides a dual benefit. You get passive monthly income hitting your bank account whether you're sleeping or on vacation, plus you get the capital appreciation of the property itself over time. Then we have bonds. Look, if you have millions in wealth, your goal kind of shifts from taking big risks to just protecting what you already have. If the stock market is the engine of your wealth, bonds act like a financial life jacket on a turbulent sea. When economic storms hit, bonds provide fixed, stable interest. They ensure that your wealth absolutely does not sink when the rest of the market is panicking. Now, when it comes to stocks and index funds, let's really focus on the index funds. I mean, do you have the time to read corporate reports every single day to pick the perfect stock? Yeah, probably not. Think of it like this. Imagine you want to build a winning cricket team, but you have no idea which individual players are actually going to perform the best. Instead of just guessing and hoping, what if you could just buy the entire team? Well, that's exactly what an index fund does. By investing in something like the Nifty 50, you instantly own a diversified piece of the country's absolute strongest companies, and it automatically weeds out the losers over time. It's brilliant. And the absolute secret weapon here is compounding. You really don't need a massive fortune to start. Seriously, a simple, systematic investment plan, an SIP, of just 5,000 rupees a month over 20 years proves that discipline and the magic of compounding matter way, way more than starting with a huge inheritance. Einstein famously called compounding the eighth wonder of the world, and it's easy to see why. Your money earns money, and then those earnings earn more money, just snowballing into immense wealth. Let's jump to section 3, pillar 2, business and intellectual power. You see, the 21st century's greatest assets often don't even take up physical space. They exist entirely in the mind and in strategic relationships. We're talking about intellectual property, brand value, goodwill, human capital, leasing models, and franchises. These are incredible because they take abstract ideas, consumer trust, or even rented equipment and completely transform them into continuous, scalable income streams. Take brand value and goodwill, for instance. Have you ever wondered why people happily pay 400 rupees for a coffee at one specific shop when the exact same quality coffee costs maybe 100 rupees right next door? Well, they aren't just buying coffee. They're buying an experience, and they're buying trust. Warren Buffett calls this an economic moat. Much like a defensive trench protects a castle, a really strong brand protects a business from competitors and price wars. It allows them to thrive and charge premium prices even during economic downturns. Which brings us to leasing and the whole sharing economy mentality. Think about it. An average person buys a really high-end camera, maybe uses it twice a year for vacations, and then just lets it gather dust in a closet. That is a liability. But a wealthy person, they acquire that exact same camera, or maybe a drone, or heavy construction machinery, specifically to rent it out. You buy the machine once, and it pays you rent over and over and over again. It completely removes the need to trade your own time for money. Then there is human capital. There's this fantastic anecdote about Henry Ford. When he was once accused in a courtroom of lacking general knowledge, he simply replied that he had a row of buttons on his desk, and he could just push one to summon any expert he needed. The lesson? You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. If you work alone, you are hard capped at 10 to 12 hours a day. But if you hire and empower a brilliant team of 20 people, your daily output instantly multiplies to 200 hours. The wealthy view employees not as expenses, but as multiplying assets. All right, moving on to Section 4, Pillar 3, Modern and Passive Assets. Welcome to the new age of wealth, where the internet has completely leveled the playing field. This final tier includes digital assets, royalty income, and the first mover advantage. Now, pay attention here, because these specific assets are responsible for creating the highest number of self-made millionaires over the last 20 years, all without needing massive physical factories or hundreds of employees. The motto for this pillar is simple: build once, earn forever. Whether you're creating a YouTube channel, writing an ebook, developing a piece of software, or recording a song, digital assets and royalties allow you to completely separate your time from your income. You can spend 6 months intensely writing a book or coding an app, and then for the next decade, you could literally be traveling the world or sleeping while millions of people purchase and consume that asset. And the best part? The cost to serve one extra digital customer is virtually zero. And complementing all of this is the first mover advantage. Look, the biggest fortunes are almost always made by those who step off the beaten path. When you are the very first person to identify a problem and introduce a brand new solution to the market, you face zero competition. You get to set the standards, you define the customer habits, and you capture the entire market share before anyone else even arrives on the scene. And finally, Section 5, the ultimate mindset shift. Here's the absolute truth. All 15 of these assets we just talked about, they're completely useless without a foundational shift in how you view money and time. A poor mindset focuses on increasing income just to spend it today, maybe saving whatever tiny bit is left over. But the rich mindset, they focus on investing in assets first and then spending only what the assets produce. They're thinking in timelines of 10, 20, or even 30 years. Financial freedom isn't a lottery ticket, guys. It is the mathematical result of disciplined, long-term decisions that force your money to work way harder than you do.
Honestly, it doesn't matter if you don't have millions to start with today. What actually matters is the direction you are heading right now. So I'm going to leave you with a provocative question to think about. Which of these 15 assets will you start building today? Will you start a small SIP, maybe create a digital asset, or learn a new skill to boost your human capital? The journey to real wealth starts with a single decision. Let me know your first step in the comments below and go start building your system today.